I think we should go now. Welcome. I'm Ebru, founder of Divorce and Wellbeing, DWB. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we begin, can I please ask everyone to stay muted for now? The session will be recorded, and following the event, I will be sharing the recording link with you. This evening, our guest is Alison Van Haeften. Alison is a nutritional therapist who helps her clients to understand how important it is to maintain a healthy diet and lifestyle. And also, she helps some of her clients to understand again how to use nutrition to support the ones, especially with chronic health problems. Alison works particularly in the areas of female hormone health, including fertility, PCOS, menopause, and weight gain, as well as problems regarding low energy and fatigue. I met Alison 2 years ago in her clinic and have been happily in touch since then. She has helped me to overcome health challenges, which I'm really grateful for. And here she is, and I'm pleased to welcome her this evening.
Thank you for that, Hebrew. It was a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Thank you. So we would like to make this session as interactive as we can. So we will spare the second half of the session to answer your questions. You can submit your questions anytime by using the chat box at the bottom of your screens. And then at the beginning of our Q&A, I will read them out. Before we begin, I would like to give you a quick 2-minute snapshot of DWB. At DWB, we help people facing relationship challenges, separation, and divorce achieve a better outcome at a lower overall cost. In my working relationship, I adopt a personal and client-centric approach based on mutual trust. There are 3 main principles to how I work. 1, working alongside family lawyers to make the process more efficient and cost-effective. 2, helping people to understand the process and to achieve steady progress towards their desired outcome by providing practical and emotional support all along. 3, coaching people to help them make good decisions based on clarity of thought and emotional stability. Coaching also serves to empower my clients. In addition to these, I introduce clients to other professionals, including lawyers, financial planners, therapists, and dietitians like Alison, who would be suitable for their personal and financial circumstances, as often finding the right professional can feel overwhelming. Our Wellbeing group, of course, is open to everyone, regardless of their relationship status. Here, we aim to create a positive difference by bringing like-minded people together through social and now virtual events. Each of our events is run by fantastic professionals known to us. If you have any questions regarding our services, you can contact me privately to arrange a 30-minute complimentary meeting. If you know anyone who may be in need of our services, facing a relationship challenge or a divorce, please pass the message along. And now it's really, really great to see you all here. Alison, over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. So good evening, everybody. It's good to see you here. Can you hear me all? Excellent. I can be a bit quiet, so I'll try and speak up for you. So today I thought a topic that would be useful to you and close to everybody's hearts at the moment is just general health, but in particular supporting your immune system. Because Obviously, we're all thinking about COVID, and we hear a lot about the vaccine coming out, which, you know, sounds like it is going to happen early next year now. But there's a lot you can do yourself at home to support your immune system, which hasn't been talked about very much at all. So I want to take this opportunity to encourage you to take care of yourselves. And I've got some suggestions here which may be useful to you. So taking charge of your health is really important, I think, particularly when we're going through these times of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear in relation to personal and global health at the moment, obviously. And I think one of the most empowering things we can do as individuals when so much, you know, does feel like it's out of control, is to manage our health a bit by taking charge of our diet specifically. And I do also suggest some supplements if you're interested in doing that as well, because that will give you a good baseline in terms of giving you some protection over the winter months. But primarily we're talking about food at the moment and how you eat, because there is that old saying, you are what you eat, and I think there is a lot to be said for that. So your immune system itself is the most powerful weapon you have really against disease. And strong immunity means that the body is better able to fight off any viruses or germs. So that's a premise. And I'm going to give you here just about 10 tips in terms of eating that I think will help you. So the first thing, which is probably the most important of all and fundamental, is about eating real food. And really, for our body to work properly, we need to eat well. We need to eat real food that's not processed, so not ready cooked meals that you just warm up, but we need to eat good quality protein. So that means, well, first of all, focusing on eating natural foods that are unrefined, that are unprocessed, as much as you can. And the other thing is really cutting back sugar. Sugar is a real strain on the immune system. It really slows down how the white blood cells work. So it's important to cut back on sugar consumption and to swap in some healthy snacks. So really it means the focus is on healthy protein, by which I mean eating good quality meat, fish and eggs. And if you're a vegetarian, you've got good alternatives. So tofu, beans, lentils and chickpeas. And I like everyone to eat healthy oils. We've been given very poor information in some ways, and people are scared to eat, you know, healthy oils like a bit of butter. And actually we need this. We need healthy oils for all sorts of systems to work properly. So I don't want people to be afraid of what I call healthy oils in moderation. I see a lot of ladies now who have osteoporosis, and when I look at them, they have a real problem with not having enough healthy oils in their body. So we've gone from one extreme to another, but that information about oils is very dated now. So on top of eating this healthy protein, the protein really is the building blocks for our amino acids, and that gives us all the energy and supports so many of the body processes. So it's fundamental that we eat good quality protein, but also get in a broad range of fruit and veg every day as well. So you want as many colors as you can in there, rainbow colored, and a good variety, because each vegetable has a different array of phytonutrients, and you want the full range for your body to work properly. And what I don't want to become I don't want to be, say to people, you can't ever go and have a pizza and have a day off, because that's not realistic. But what I say to people is, if you follow the 80-20 rule, so 80% of the time you stay on good, healthy food, and then 20% of the time you can have a holiday. So for the odd weekend, or if you've, Christmas is coming, I don't expect people to be totally good. We're going to eat some foods that aren't so healthy, but that's okay. It doesn't mean, it's what you do most of the time that counts, really. So if we can get that foundation in, we're a long way down the road. Things like just eat, instead of having apple juice and orange juice, it's much better to go for the full fruit, just an apple or an orange, because you don't get the sugar hit. And one of the things that they found with COVID is that sugar is making a real difference. That's why they picked up on the diabetes. So what we need to also really look at is a low GI diet. So that means really eating lots of protein and not so much sugar, making sure you have good breakfast and some protein snacks. And, instead of, the trouble with these juices, they're very nice, but they have a big sugar hit on the body, which isn't so useful. So try and go for the fruit and, not the white bread, but have the whole grain bread, and have, a white bat as an occasional treat, if that's what you want to do. But it's what we do most of the time that counts. So the second thing I wanted to talk about was having a happy tummy. And I think many people have heard that our immune systems are very tied up with our guts. In fact, really, our guts are the foundation of good health. So we have to look after our gut health. It's really important. And about 80% of our immunity is tied up to the tissue, the mucous tissue inside the gastrointestinal tract. And this mucosa, which runs throughout the tract, is part of the first line of defense in terms of immunity. So it's really important to keep this healthy. So it's really important to get the good bacteria in and to have a balance between the good and the bad. So the bad means you'll have more pathogenic, more disease-producing bacteria. And there's always a balance to be had. It's not that we never have any. There's a relationship, but the balance has to be good. So always it's worth having some probiotic and prebiotic foods just to help feed the good bacteria. So I've listed here a few things that might be helpful, and that they will just help sort of your body repopulate the gut in a healthy way. So one of the really good things is an organic probiotic yogurt. It's often called live yogurt if you go into the superstore. You don't want to have yogurts loaded with sugar again, really. So keep it really simple if you can. What else? And always buy full fat. People are very much into this 0%, but we really want to get the healthy fats up a little bit. So, and also the 0% have much higher levels of milk sugars, and these are not helpful again to our body. So it's best to have the plain natural yogurt that's live if you can get it, and then just add in a few blueberries or something like that. That's a good sweet thing to have if you want to have something sweet. When you're cooking, so I always say to people, if you're looking after your gut, things like bone broths are very helpful. And if you've got a slow cooker, I say to everyone, go and invest in one of these crock pots or slow cookers, because you can double up and do some nice chicken casseroles. And, you can eat for today and then freeze the other half for another day. So you're not having to worry about cooking all the time, because I realize people are really busy with jobs. Even when we're working at home, there are, many calls on our time. So the idea is to do that. Maybe on a weekend, you have a cooking afternoon where you freeze quite a few things, so you don't have to be thinking about what to do every day. But miso is a soup. You can get it as a soup or a dried powder, and that's very good. You can add it to stews, you can add it to soups, and that's very good for the gut as well. Some of you might know about oats. So people have oats for breakfast, obviously, in terms of porridge, but you can soak the oats overnight, which means they are semi-broken down for your digestion in the morning. And that makes it easier to absorb. You can then add the fruit that you want, maybe a little bit of yogurt, and that's a good start to the day as well. The other things that are used primarily in cooking, but have been for hundreds of years now, are onions and garlic. So they're really, really good. And if you like them, Jerusalem artichokes, if you know what they are, they're quite good as well. They're all the same family, I think. And the last one is beans. Beans are very undervalued in our diet, so it's worth adding in some beans. Just trying to think. So the next thing is when we're cooking, is to use the herbs and spices in the kitchen. They can be really useful. This is a really smart way of actually boosting the food on your plate in terms of immune support again. So garlic really is number one. It's really a potent superfood, and it has antimicrobial qualities. So I quite often use it if people have parasitic problems. I'll put in usually as a supplement because I want it quite high, but it's very good, and it's very good against viruses. It's very supportive of the blood, so it's a lovely thing to take. It has an active ingredient called allicin in it. So when you're using the garlic, you can chop it or crush it up, whatever is your preference, but just sit it aside for 5 or 10 minutes before you throw it into the pan for cooking. And that helps the allicin to activate. And it means that as you cook it, you don't kill off the allicin so quickly. It's difficult to get rid of it in that way once you've just sat it for a while. What else can I think of? I said on that. I'm going through. So there are a couple of other herbs that I often use. One is, and they're both anti-inflammatory, which you probably know very well as well. One is oregano and thyme. So mostly you can get these at the supermarkets, but you may well have them in your garden still, certainly the thyme. And I'm very keen people just grow these herbs, even if it's in a window box or something, so you can use them through the winter. And then you've got the freshest herbs going, really. And the other things that we know of as anti-inflammatories are turmeric and ginger as well. And they are really, very good anti-inflammatories. So add them to your cooking when you can. If you're doing a bean chili, add the turmeric in. Even though it's not in the recipe, it's worth doing that. I often drink water with ginger in it because it's such a good anti-inflammatory. So just peel about an inch of ginger, give it a bit of a bash with a rolling pin, and then stick it in your water. You can have hot water or cold water, but if you to do that every day, that will, it's a cumulative effect. That will help with your inflammation. Most people have inflammation these days, so that's a good thing to do. These are all really well documented in terms of being immune boosters. They've been used for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So, they're nature's medicine chest, really. So let's use them. I did mention this before, but this is the one that people find probably most difficult, is to say no to sugar. So sugar is a great comfort food for all of us. And I guess at the moment, we are kind of prone to maybe going to the cupboard. So it's worth, even if you don't think you're a sugar addict, it's worth having a look and just seeing how much sugar you might be consuming. Because I think most of us really eat more sugar than we realize. So there's no shortcuts with sugar, I'm afraid, and it is hugely addictive. Some people have said it's more addictive than heroin, and it's once you cut it out, it's fine. But then, a month too later, you can think, oh, I just fancy a piece of chocolate, and you're back to that, and you feel that you have the same addiction. So you just have to get on top of it. You can use things like stevia or xylitol as sweeteners, which have a much less of a sugar hit on your blood. So much better for people if they're pre-diabetic or just trying to wean themselves off the sugar. That's one way of doing it. What else? Yeah, the reason that sugar is not so good really is one, it's really a toxin, but it also really it makes inflammation in the body so much worse, so much more quickly. So that's one of the reasons we need to avoid it. And also, as I said before, it really affects the neutrophils, which are the white blood cells, fighting off viruses. And we really want to have these neutrophils really working as hard as we can. So yeah, it's Sugar's a bit of a no-no, but we can get hold of other snacks, and maybe just use a bit of stevia or something if we're baking. So flapjacks with a bit of stevia. I'm afraid honey is a sugar. You know, all of these things are sugars. It's just which is less. So, and I think if we eat enough protein, if we eat more protein, so make sure you have a protein breakfast, you actually feel that you don't get the dips in energy that you would. So to have a proper cooked breakfast is actually a very good idea, because by 11, otherwise, you know, if you have a cereal often by 11 or 12, or, you know, late morning, you're hungry again and you're looking for a fix. So to eat more for breakfast, good food that you have to chew, is very useful. The other thing you can get raw cocoa and cacao as a hot chocolate, and you can add a bit of oat milk or almond milk to that with a little bit of xylitol, and that's kind of quite comforting, and it's a nice pre-bed drink really. And if you're really missing your hit of chocolate, try going for the darker chocolate, try going for the green and blacks chocolate, or anything that's got a high content, cocoa content. So it's got to be at least 75% and above. And actually that's got lots of serotonin in it. So it really feeds the body, particularly in winter. It's quite a good thing to have. And I'll often break it up with a bowl with a few Brazil nuts or something. And that's a healthy snack then really as well. Number 6 is something that we all struggle with again, or many of us, and that's drinking enough water. So we really do need to aim for this 2 litres of water a day. So I think the idea is to think about how we can, if we're struggling with it, the best thing is just to have a bottle, a nice bottle that you like, to fill it up in the morning and keep it near you, and you don't want to drown down 2 litres in one go. You need to be sipping that throughout the day. If you're having tea and coffee, I'm afraid you have to have more water, because they're diuretics, and you're going to end up on a minus with the water if you have those. So just remember that if you're a great tea drinker, it's not always. So, you know, you could perhaps switch some of those teas and coffees for either decaf or some herbal teas, or some green tea. Green tea is very good. We'll talk about that. So, you know, in terms of actually bolstering your defenses, water is great. It's a miracle worker. It flushes out all the germs from your body, and it helps the body to carry oxygen around. And it also helps your body to absorb the nutrients as well. So when we've eaten the food, it makes sure that the food that we've had, the nutrients get into the cells and can actually work for us. So the other thing about water, I'm afraid, is not as clean as it used to be. Often it's filtered through quite a few times, particularly if you live in London now. So I do say to everyone to invest in a filter jug, and just, you know, there's a lot of chlorine and fluorine now, let alone things like hormones. We won't go down there, but there's a lot of chemicals in our water. So it's worth having just a Brita jug or something and just using that. So yeah, we talked about herbal tea. So green tea is really, really good. It's full of antioxidants, and it will really help to supercharge your immunity. So if you're really wanting to work on your immunity, it's worth having a couple of green teas in the afternoon. Will make a difference. And the other one is chamomile tea, which you might have tried. People often have that before bed. But again, that's full of antioxidants. It fights off the free radicals in your immune system. And all these things are cumulative. So it's about adding all these things. These are all tools in your toolkit. And it's about bringing as many as you can into play, really, for yourselves. Sorry, I'm just going to drink. So recently with COVID, there's been quite a lot of interest and cover on vitamin D. And vitamin D has been recognised as being very important and part of the immune system now, particularly respiratory health. So I think most people probably in the UK are low in vitamin D, really because of our climate. It's only really in the summer months that we can actually go out and get the sun in that way. So, you know, that's important during the summer months, is to get out there and make sure you do get some vitamin D. So don't slap your, don't go and put all the creams on before you've been out for about 20 minutes in the sun. Try and get a sleeveless t-shirt on for 15-20 minutes and then put sun creams on, because otherwise you're not going to get any vitamin D going through at all. So you can eat lots of foods that will help boost your vitamin D. So you need to eat oily fish. Things like salmon and mackerel and tuna are quite helpful, as well as mushrooms, cheese, egg yolks. And some foods are actually vitamin D fortified. Because it's so important now, and there's so much data about it being important in immune health, and obviously for bone health, particularly for women on the osteo side, it's you can actually get very quick tests done for vitamin D. You can order in a vitamin D finger prick test. You don't even have to go to your GP, and you can just check. You shouldn't take high doses of vitamin D for any amount of time, because it's one of the few vitamins that can be toxic. So that's why it's worth getting checked. You should check it, see what it is, and then go on to maybe a maintenance dose, or if it's very low, go on something higher. Go on that for a couple of 2 to 3 months and get your blood level checked again, because you don't want it going the other way. That's not helpful. And something that so many of us struggle with these days is sleep. Sleep and stress go together, I think. And I don't know how many people do sleep well, really. I think it's something we have to work for more these days. But really, the thinking is that if you're going to stay healthy and remain healthy, you need to get good quality sleep at some point. There's a recent study done in the States, in Pennsylvania, that found out that if people had less than 7 hours sleep a day, they're 3 times more likely to catch a cold or virus. So there's a direct correlation there between your immune system and rest and sleep. And I guess the same goes for stress as well. If we're constantly under a lot of stress, then this is a problem to our body. It's just another factor, basically. So we are going to talk about stress another time as a separate issue, because it's such a big topic, and it's so important. So we will look at stress and sleep another time. But it's really important that we aim to get about 8 hours sleep a day. So switching off tablets and TVs and mobile phones at about 9:30 is really quite a good idea. And then relaxing down, having some me time, just to get the balance between these electronic devices and ourselves, and getting some rest. I have quite a few teenagers coming to me who really are struggling with sleep. So sometimes they're using apps like Calm or binaural beats. Headspace is another, and they give you a little bit of meditation and just help you to calm down a little bit, really. So they're worth trying. You can download those on your phone. And the final thing that I'm saying is move. We don't move enough, and I guess the winter months we probably feel less inclined to want to move. But our lymphatic system is part of our immune system, and it runs parallel to our circulation. It takes out the toxins from the body. It's a circulatory system of its own, but it doesn't have a pump as such. The blood vessels, the blood is pumped around by the heart, but there is nothing for the lymphatics. So there's 2 very important things to make sure the lymphatics are working. 1 is to drink enough water, and 2 is to move. So making sure that you're walking, or even stretching if that's hard, but making sure you're moving is really an important part to, supporting your immune system, really. And the suggestion is really that you exercise for 30 to 60 minutes 5 times a day now. So whether that's going for a walk, or going to the gym, or getting your bike out, whatever suits you, but moving the body is hugely helpful, and generally we don't do enough of it. I'm not really a great HIIT person, because I think it really drives up people's cortisol levels. So I don't think that's that helpful, but I think just extended walks, a bike ride, we can't go and do very much, can we, at the moment? Even swimming is difficult. But, walking is a very useful. Jogging, if that suits you. So any of those, any combination of those are useful. I think I'm getting to the end. 10 steps, yes. So the other thing I did have was just a recipe, which I will send out to you. I think many people have heard the old old wives' tale about chicken soup being good for when you have a fever. And actually it is, there's research that shows that a good bowl of chicken and vegetable soup can really slow down the speed at which the neutrophils move around the body. These neutrophils are the white blood cells that are part of the immune system and protect us from infection. So what we want to do is slow down these neutrophils and get them working in the areas of the body where we need them to work. So having a good chicken soup, I think it feels very nurturing and comforting when you're feeling really unwell, but also, there are medical reasons why it's actually helpful to do that. And it's been found to be particularly helpful in reducing symptoms in upper respiratory tract infections like COVID. So I've got a lovely Thai-style chicken soup recipe for you all here to try that I hope will be useful, and I can send that on. And I think really, if you were to do most of these things to some extent, you're really, you've got a very good start. So resting is really important, and not stressing as well. We haven't talked about that, but stress is a factor in everybody's lives, or not many people don't have any stress at the moment. So it's about managing stress, but I will talk about that as an individual topic because it's really important. And it is about how we manage our stress and what we can do to do that. But that's the talk today. I've also looked at some supplements, but I don't know if you want to talk about that. I don't know if we've got time, Abreu.
Okay, I think we're very good with time. I haven't got any written questions, and because half of the participants aren't here this evening, which gives us a good excuse to unmute ourselves and turn it maybe into a nice discussion among ourselves, if that feels okay. So is there anyone who wants to start with a question? Please unmute yourselves and tell what you'd like to ask Alison.
Hi, it's Melanie. Can I ask a question?
Hi, Melanie.
How serious is the sugar that's contained in alcohol?
I have been saying to people, if you want to look after yourselves and you're concerned about COVID, you have to knock out the alcohol. It's a direct sugar. So, yeah, it's a factor, I'm afraid. Yeah, we need to reduce our alcohol. Yeah, especially if we're worried.
Among dose of alcohol you would recommend under the lockdown?
No, not really, if I'm absolutely honest. I mean, vodka's cleaner, is a cleaner, but it's still going to have it's going to affect your blood sugars, I think. And I'm really concerned. I've read quite a lot of data this week about COVID and blood sugars. And that's why I'm saying to people, you really must watch your sugar, because it seems like the link in is between the people who have high blood sugars or insulin, the insulin sort of resistant. So that's kind of pre-diabetic. And I think a lot of people in the population probably don't know it even. So I think if we're really worried about keeping ourselves well this winter, I'd say cut down on the alcohol. Have the odd drink, but certainly not every night, or really keep an eye on it. I'm afraid I've decided after yesterday that no, it's not healthy. Not at the moment.
Time to drink.
If you've got some time with family or something on a special occasion, maybe, but I would cut it down. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always bringing good news to people.
Please unmute yourself, Elena.
Oh, Elena, you're muted.
So
there you are.
Oh.
Hello.
Now, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very well.
Yes. I've been doing fasting. I'm avoiding breakfasts. And I feel always much better.
Yeah, you can do that a couple of days. Fasting can be quite helpful if you're trying to lose weight. And I think there is quite a lot to say that it gives the mitochondria a rest. So there are, there are lots of, I wouldn't say you want to do that every day, but if you're wanting to do it for a special reason, and sometimes people will say that when you've got a fever, it's good not to eat too much. So to actually fast a bit, and then the body can get on with fighting the actual virus rather than, using all its energy on actually digestion. So I'm not averse to fasting. I think it's got its place, but I wouldn't. It depends if people have got a problem with energy or not. A lot of the people that come and see me have chronic issues with energy, in which case fasting isn't appropriate for them.
For me, fasting gives me energy.
That's good. Maybe, yeah, that's really good. There's
So much better.
there's no one answer for everybody. Everybody's got a different body, and it's about finding out what suits your body and working with that, really. If anyone says there's one answer for everybody, that's certainly not the case. We're all quite different in the way we're made up. So if that works for you, Elena, do it.
Yes. The other thing is you mentioned the sleep, and most people, we have issues with sleep.
Yeah.
I sleep, but I it helps me a lot to download, to listen to YouTube kind of things that could be Silva method, that puts my brain into a certain, and then I fall asleep. But then I think I should be connected to an iPhone all day long. Maybe just have it on a separate device that's not linked to the internet. I don't know.
Good. I've got a thing that I really want people to
Start with the phone all day long.
no, unplug, turn off. Really, I'm asking people to turn off their routers at night, because otherwise these are running 24/7 for everybody, particularly if you've got young children. But it's not helpful. All these are toxins, and our bodies aren't actually able to cope with all these. We've got the food that is not good quality anymore, difficult to get hold of. And we've got stress. Our water's not good, so we have to take care of ourselves the best way we can.
About the sugar addiction that you mentioned,
Mhm.
I have friends that don't eat at all sugar, at all.
That's fantastic.
They can touch something and they will just go, they won't be able to stop it. They will just go and eat a whole cake because they've deprived it. I mean, it's like they shouldn't start it. And I'm just worried whether actually it's better because we grew up with sugar. It's not that we didn't have it in our. Maybe it's better to just add a little bit. Okay,
People years ago had very little sugar. I can remember having a biscuit a week. That was it. It was such a small part. It was a very, a treat was a treat. You might get it once a week or once a fortnight. But now everybody has biscuits every day. It's like we've got to change the balance back a bit, really. I don't think people used to eat sugar like we do now. I can remember as a child it wasn't like that. So we've got to go back. I think that was much healthier. I mean, we've got massive problems with diabetes and metabolic syndrome and things, and it's all sugar-based. PCOS is massively a sugar problem. It's insulin. It's when your insulin receptors don't work anymore, and it's quite a big cause of infertility with women. So sugar is causing all sorts of problems, really. So we need to get a hold of sugar somehow. Yeah, it's getting the balance. Yeah, eat the protein, not the sugar.
good things.
I'm sorry if I've thrown a lot at you, because maybe it's.
What about salt? How dangerous is salt? Or is not really?
I think it's all right in small amounts. I think some people need salt. Again, some people need salt. If you've got a cardiac problem, it's more of a no-no. To say it's not good for anyone, but I need salt. I work with quite a lot of people who've got very low adrenals and they've got a water imbalance. So, and their salt is a problem. So actually a bit of salt is quite useful to them. But for people who've got cardiac issues, it's a no-no. So, there's no one, you have to know your body and what it needs, partly, how it works. But I add a bit of sea salt to my food, really, and I'm not thinking, oh my goodness, but I just don't add very much. I add it a little bit, because the thing is, the more we have, the more we think, oh, we need that for foods to taste of anything. And in a way, you know, we have to wean ourselves off to realize that actually we can taste the food without the salt. Then it's what our, you know, it's what our kind of what we get used to in terms of taste, I think. So no, a little bit of salt's okay. Sugar's more of a problem than salt, to be honest, I think, because I think people are very salt aware, but sugar is just, you know, it's a big comfort fix for lots of us. No, definitely. But the answer is to eat protein, more protein, and then you don't get these ups and downs in energy. You get more sustained energy, so you're not wanting the sugar then. It's partly our body knows it's tired, and it's the quickest way for us to get sort of you know, an energy pick up. You know, that 3 o'clock fix that everybody talks about. It's because people are tired at that point, and that's to do with your adrenals. So got to eat more protein, you know, bits of chicken, have a good quality sausage, these kind of things. It's just quality of meat's not very, I mean, the quality of our food in the UK is not brilliant, really. And we're used to sort of paying very little for our food in comparison to a lot of other countries. So, you know, percentage of our earnings, I don't think we pay that much. But if we want something that's quality to look after us, we have to pay a bit more sometimes.
Okay, so if let's say you crave something that is similar to sugar, less bad.
No, that's sugar is sugar. What are you thinking of? Like,
Some dietitians say dark chocolate has good.
yeah, no, dark chocolate's the one, but only 1 or 2 squares. You can't go eating slabs of it. You know, small amount, and have the nuts with it and a few raisins.
Yeah.
You know, just
Okay, I
make
have
it
a
a treat.
question here about sugar. Actually, it's from Eman.
Oh,
Hi, Eman. Eman is asking, are molasses and manuka honey good for COVID patients, or they are not recommended at all as they are considered as sugars?
oh, I can't hear what, Ebru, I couldn't hear you there.
You can't hear me?
No.
Are molasses and manuka honey good for COVID patients, or they are not recommended at all as they are considered as sugars?
Is she saying molasses?
Molasses, yes.
That's a really good one, isn't it? I mean, blackstrap molasses are really good for things like iron. So I've got a feeling that blackstrap molasses might be okay. It depends how much you're eating, maybe, as well. But it's, you know, one of the things about it is unrefined. So in a way, in that sense, it's going to be more acceptable to the body. Part of the problem with something like sugar, it's highly processed. And our body just doesn't recognize it, doesn't know what it is, you know, as a chemical. And that's the problem with a lot of foods these days. So I think blackstrap, has he always done that? Is that a family thing they've always done?
Emma, would you like to unmute yourself?
Come on, tell me, yes.
Maybe she's not here. So the other thing she's asking is manuka honey. Eman, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Okay. Would you like to rephrase the question? Maybe you can have a direct conversation.
I'm asking about molasses, the black one, which is unrefined. So is it okay with COVID patients, or it's not recommended?
Oh man, I think I'm going to have to go and check out for you, because I don't want to be telling you the wrong thing here. I mean, it is still a sugar, but it's unrefined, and it has obviously some really good, you know, it's very good for iron and things. So if you've got low iron, it's very good for that, I know. And obviously it is unrefined. But if you've got COVID patients, I would tend to go, I will double check for you. My feeling is to stay clear of it unless you have a very good reason to give it, though, because it is a sugar still.
Yeah. What about manuka honey?
Well, yeah, it's really good for, that's a difficult one. I suppose I'd be more inclined to try the manuka because it's got such a good history in terms of respiratory tract infections. But it is a honey, so be careful. You know, it is a sugar still, so just be a little bit careful. Have you got a relative who's poorly at the moment?
Yeah, it's my manager.
Your manager? So I'll get this chicken soup. You'll have to make them some chicken soup.
Okay.
Lots of liquids, really. Lots of liquids. Get them some vitamin C, I think. But maybe you can talk to me sort of outside and we'll just think about some things, because it depends on how ill they are and what their symptoms are at the moment.
The symptoms started to like getting better, but it still have some symptoms.
Yeah, I think most people who've had it have, it's got a long tail to it, this virus.
Yeah, especially he is not hospitalized.
Okay.
He's at home, so
Okay.
there are a lot of questions going on.
Yeah. I just know that people I know who've had it have really struggled for quite a long time with it, and that's not unusual. So
Yeah.
it's just about resting as much as they can at the moment, and eating kind of well, like we've talked about, lots of fluids, but it's rest.
Yeah, he's kind of like to add sugar to the fluids, so I advised him to.
No, I would just try not to at the moment. Try and go savory.
Yeah, I recommended him to add maybe honey.
Yeah,
It will be better.
I just, honey's a sugar still. Okay, it's a natural sugar. It's not been processed in the way that our white sugar has, so it's better in that way. But I just feel I'm really concerned because so many of these COVID patients are coming up with problems, and the diabetic side is really part of the problem. It depends what his history is a bit as well. Without knowing, exactly what's going on with him, it's very difficult to advise. He may have problems with his blood sugars anyway, in which case he really shouldn't have sugar, I don't think. It probably is just going to prolong the illness to some extent.
He is not diabetic.
No, but he's not pre-diabetic?
No, not pre-diabetic also.
Okay. Still, if I don't know his history, so many people have problems with their blood sugars and they're not really aware of it even. It's only when they come and say to me, I'm very tired, or my energy goes up and down or something, that we start to look at their diet. And
Yeah, that's right.
I've got a blood sugar problem, really. If if their energy is going up and down, then I know basically they've got a problem with their blood sugars. It's the first thing I sort out with virtually everyone I see these days. So
yeah, we don't regularly go check on that.
Yeah, but you're welcome to email me. Ebru will give you, and then we can find out how.
Yeah, I think it may be a good idea to get in touch for him with Alison, so he can get better answers to the questions.
Yeah, I don't want to be shooting in the dark.
Yeah,
on it.
we don't need to be assuming. So there's another question from Zita.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma. Zita is asking what happens if we eat too much protein, and is it possible to eat too much protein?
Yeah, I mean, really, the Atkins diet is a protein diet, and I personally don't think it's very healthy. So when I say eat plenty of protein, it does need quantifying, doesn't it? So, I'm saying a couple of sausages in the morning, and for lunch to have a fistful size of protein. So a fistful size piece of chicken or salmon, something like that. So it doesn't have to be enormous. And then the evening, we don't need the protein. We're eating our meal later, the meal that we need to give us energy. Unfortunately, we're eating it the wrong way around. We need to eat better at lunchtime, really, to give us the energy. So often I say to my patients, they've got to eat better at lunchtime to have this protein. But I don't mean enormous amount of protein shakes or anything like that. So you might have, some sausage or eggs for breakfast, and then you have a chicken at lunchtime with some soup or a green salad, and then 2 small protein snacks. So you might have a hard-boiled egg, or you might have a high-protein yogurt with some fruit and nuts, or just 5 nuts is a protein snack. You don't need more than 5. And the same at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You could have some hummus on some oat cakes or something, just 2 or 3, and that it will stabilize your blood sugars, and that's very helpful for most people. So,
What I thought was having carbohydrates earlier in the day is better, and having proteins is better in dinner.
well, I'm not really into carbs at all. The more I've got sort of dealing with people and their sugar problems, I'm not really a carb queen, really. I think the paleo diet where you're just eating meat or fish and then the vegetables is actually better for most people. But if it depends. Again, you've got a very slim man who's working physically quite hard, he's going to need those calories, so he's going to need carbs. Whereas if you've got someone who's a bit slow with a middle-aged lady like me who's got a slow, her body, is slow, the metabolic rate is slow, then really carbs are not helpful. So it depends on what you're doing, on your body type a bit. But for most people I see, they've got energy is such an issue for them, particularly these women, that I just put them on more protein. And they might have a little bit, often they've got problems with gluten as well. So then they've got a problem with bread. So eventually we get to a stage where they're not having so much of the carbs. Because even the complex carbs, they do, some refined carbs particularly, no, you just don't need the white bread, and even potatoes you can cut out. The only carbs that I would say, maybe some good quality rice again, because pasta is, people are eating wheat 3 times a day. They're having, sort of wheat in their cereal for breakfast, Cheerios or whatever. Then they're having a sandwich at lunchtime, and they're having pasta for tea. Well, that's wheat 3 times a day, and our bodies can't really cope with that. It's too much wheat. So then I have to come back from that place, really. Yeah, people want to lose weight, really. The way to do it is to cut out the carbs. It just is.
So if we're eating carbs, it needs to be unrefined rice.
Unrefined carbs are better. Yeah, the complex carbs give us more sustained energy, so they are better. Yeah.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Sure, Salima.
Great. So I just wanted to find out your thoughts about inflammation of the sinus. So I had a viral infection last year in December, and it was an inner ear infection. And ever since then, I've been struggling with symptoms that I've never experienced before, which is a postnasal drip. I feel particularly oozy, and my ears are constantly blocked. I really do espouse to the fact that food is medicine, and I follow a plant-based diet. So I've removed gluten from my diet and dairy, just things that I perceive to be inflammatory. And I haven't seen much of a difference. So I'm just curious to know what your thoughts would be about that.
Goodness.
Sorry.
Have you worked at getting the inflammation down in your body at all?
So I've been to allopathic doctors. They've given me antibiotics. It hasn't really helped. I've done some ozone therapy, but I feel that perhaps the best way to remove or reduce inflammation is through my diet, and this is why I eat an anti-inflammatory diet where I don't have dairy, I don't have milk, and basically I follow a vegan diet. I think it's made some difference, but not the difference that I'm anticipating, because I live with these symptoms every day, and it's been a year, and I'm just sort of at a loss into what to do.
I think, have you just been using diet at the moment to get your the inflammation down?
Yes, and ozone therapy.
Oh gosh, okay. So my kind of way of getting inflammation down would probably be to use some supplements as well. And really, you probably need to go and see a nutritionist of some kind and work alongside them.
Okay.
We'll know what supplement programs to look at for you. But I think things like turmeric might be useful, some omega-3. There are lots of ways of doing it. You cut out dairy, you cut out gluten, you cut out quite a lot of the, as you say, the pro-inflammatory foods. So you need to work at that. The other thing it might be is candida as well. Often people with sinuses do have a candida problem, and even if you cut out sugar, candida can be a devil. So it can just be very, very difficult to get rid of. So it might be worth looking at that side. But again, a nutritionist would know about that and would be looking for that probably.
Okay, super.
Those are my first thoughts. But yeah, I think you've done what you can. You've obviously doing the right thing, but it just needs more work.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, good luck with it.
Any other questions? We're coming to the end of the hour. So is there any
question? Yes.
No, why not?
Of course.
An Oriental doctor recently helped a friend that has been in chronic problems with her body.
Hmm.
He recommended to her a very ancient Greek remedy
Hmm.
that is the apple cider vinegar
Hmm.
with honey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's very not a nice thing to drink, is it? Apple cider vinegar.
It has been transformed, and
Oh,
that includes sugar because it's honey. Not a lot, it's a teaspoon.
no, I think if it's used in a small amount in that way, it's sweetening off the apple cider vinegar, isn't it? Because it's quite tart. But apple cider vinegar is useful. It's helpful for the gut. It's very helpful for inflammation in the body. So people have a lot of arthritis, for instance. I would give that. I use it as a digestive enzyme for people to help to, uh, just to help the food to be broken down.
Would
So
you use it with a meal or
yeah,
outside a meal?
before the meal, I would take it, but in a little bit of warm water. And you
Okay.
just take it like a little shot and you knock it down. But I don't usually say for people to take it with sugar because they have it as a shot. It's not something you drink and, it's like you knock it back really.
So you just
Uh,
say, oh, take out the honey and just do it with
yeah,
the.
absolutely. I wouldn't give it with honey. He's been kind.
It was the ancient Greeks did it, but it was with honey. But
Oh, they're being kind. But I just say to people, get a really good organic apple cider vinegar, and even Holland and Barrett do them now. And really, it's a very useful thing for the digestive system and for inflammation generally. So yeah, I'm a really great. I think it's a good thing to take.
and my last question, sorry, I have questions,
That's
is
all.
we mentioned candida.
Yeah.
Everywhere, it's everywhere online and everything. Everywhere. But when I went, because once I was diagnosed with it, and then I went to my GP and I said, okay, I've been diagnosed with this. He said, well, this is not really proven.
Well, that's an allopathic doctor talking from his point of view. But I talk, I think their way of seeing things is so different. I'm a naturopath and I work with candida a lot. So I would say I don't quite see things in the same way. And I think some of these, there are many strains of candida, and anyway, everybody does have candida in the body. It's just the balance sometimes go. If you have lots of antibiotics for some reason, then the balance will go, and you have to do something about that. Or if you've got you're eating lots of sugar, you're just going to help it really, and it sort of, you have to get control at that point, I think. So it's just about having a good balance of things. You'll never get rid of it, and you don't want to.
So it exists, but some doctors just don't
No, they don't recognize it at all.
recognize it at all. Yes, because all the symptoms of people who have candida, which online,
Yeah, I know. No, definitely candida exists, and it's there in everybody's body, but it's when it gets out of balance, really, it can be really problematic. And I've seen it a lot in people. It's systemic. It will be throughout the whole body. It won't just be in one area. So that's why I was saying with the sinuses, often you see people with sinusitis have got a candida problem. So it's worth looking at. Yeah.
Sorry, just on that, sorry, how do you figure out if you do have a candida problem?
Get it tested. You can get labs to test it, really. You can take a swab and then you can get that tested. But they're private labs that do that. So again, you probably would need to go and see a nutritionist, and they would sort of do that for you, and then they put you on an anti-candida program.
Yeah, I think I've done that with Genova before.
Yeah, well, Genova for sure will do it, but you just have to go on a candida diet for a period of time if they find it. And I'm sure you can go direct to Geneva. You don't need to do it through. So if you feel you want to retest, you can do that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, any other questions? We're coming to the close, but for those of you who missed it or who couldn't stay for the entire session, we have a recording. I will write a follow-up email to each of you and give you the link for the recording so you can go back to it. And Alison will be in touch with you as well with her famous recipe. So we can all try and enjoy it during the lockdown. And of course, you can always come back to us. You can be on our mailing list. We are planning more events with Alison, especially around stress and sleep, I guess.
Yeah.
So we're very much interested in supporting people around us as much as we can, especially during these weird times. So stay in touch, and we will be organizing new events, hopefully. And in the meantime, please give us your feedback and tell us what you would like to see next time. That would also be good. Thank you, Alison. It was great having you.
No, my pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Have a lovely evening. Bye. Thanks for joining.
Alison, thank you.
Oh, my
Thank you.
pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.